This brings us to our final session of the conference as we wrap up our 7th Our Ocean Conference. We're going to begin with remarks from previous hosts, starting with Norway's ambassador to the Philippines and Palau, His Excellency Bjorn Johnson. Norway continues to be a global leader for a sustainable ocean economy that benefits people and nature. Please help me welcome Ambassador Johnson. The floor is yours.
Excellencies, friends of the ocean, it has been a true pleasure to be with you here in Palau at this 7th Our Ocean Conference to discuss the state of the ocean and the course ahead, as in the previous panel. Once again, the global ocean community has come together, and we have delivered knowledge-based voluntary commitments. Commitments have been the main driver for these conferences since 2014. And again, we thank John Kerry for taking the visionary initiative at that time, putting ocean issues on the global agenda. We would also like to thank President Wipps and his committed staff for hosting us here at one of our blue planet's most beautiful places, Palau. Now, like other island states in the Pacific and elsewhere, Palau is facing tremendous challenges. You are at the forefront of climate change, combined with marine litter, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, and other non-sustainable practices that have particularly grave consequences for small island developing states. Many solutions have been discussed during these 2 days, from nature-based, such as mangrove and seagrass forests, to ocean-based renewable energy sources and green shipping. When we return home, we must make sure we practice what we preach. Healthy oceans are vital for global food security and for solving some of humanity's most urgent problems. Healthy oceans hold one of the keys to ending hunger and poverty. With the current extremely critical situation for the world's food supply, worsened by the war in Ukraine, the task of safeguarding the ocean's contribution to food security, as well as a source of decent jobs, has become even more important. 2022 is the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture. It is more important than ever that the millions of small-scale fishermen and women and fish farmers are recognized for providing healthy and nutritious food to billions of people. So, like many Pacific states, Norway has lived by the sea and from the sea for centuries. My country's economy and the health of our population depend on ocean-based resources. As in the Pacific, we have in the High North a front row seat to climate change. It is not a pleasant sight. This is why climate change, food security, and energy transition are on the top of both our foreign policy and development policy agendas. The urgency of the tasks requires our immediate and concerted action. Our ocean is one of several conferences this year focusing on the need for clean, healthy, and productive oceans, as we heard in the last panel. 2022 is, in fact, the ocean super year. Let us make it the year where we managed to stop the decline in the ocean's health. The high-level panel on a sustainable ocean economy has presented knowledge-based policy advice on all the topics discussed during this conference. The high-level panel has already agreed on substantial commitments, and it inspires all ocean countries to do even more. As mentioned by the French ambassador in the previous session, the One Ocean Summit in Brest in February started the Ocean Super Year with a strong commitment to step up action. The resolution adopted at the UN Environment Assembly held in Nairobi in March was a breakthrough, Now we must make sure that the negotiations for an internationally binding treaty to stop plastic pollution are successful. We must also conclude on a robust treaty for the governance of the high seas at the ongoing meetings of the Intergovernmental Conference on Marine Biodiversity Beyond Areas of National Jurisdiction. That's a mouthful. At the UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon in June-July, we should take further strides to ensure significant action on SDG 14, life below water. We now have a unique opportunity to step up our joint efforts. Our hosts, the United States and Palau, have laid a solid foundation for increased attention to ocean issues. We are looking forward to the leadership of our next host, Panama, in continuing this ocean wave from the Ocean Super Year. Thank you.
So I think we are, sorry about that. Ambassador, thank you, and thank Norway. I'd like to thank Norway for its continued engagement on behalf of our ocean. And I want to say their conference was phenomenal. It was wonderful to be there. Now we turn to another Our Ocean Conference host and global ocean champion with a message from Chilean President Gabriel Boric.
Dear friends, Chile is an oceanic country with a historical relationship with the sea, from a social, cultural, economic, and political perspective. The ocean is an important part of our citizens' lives and crucial for the well-being of the environment, and we are committed to its conservation and sustainable use. Although I could not physically be with you in Palau, I did not want to be absent because for the new government of Chile, the Our Ocean Conference is of high importance for the development of concrete actions to protect the ocean and its ecosystems. We have a deep commitment with the environment, its care and sustainable development. Therefore, on this special occasion, we are pleased to make the following announcements. First, we know the importance of advancing in ocean protection to achieve the goal of conserving 30% of the global ocean by the year 2030. In this sense, we are in the process of creating a new no-take marine protected area in Patagonia called TikTok Gulf of Corcovado Marine Park. This protected area will encompass 1,019 square kilometers and aims to protect an important feeding zone for blue whales and other marine species. Secondly, I would also like to announce that we will implement new technological, scientific, and economic measures to mitigate climate change through the Blue Boat Initiative project, together with Mary Foundation. This project seeks to conserve whales as a fundamental species for marine ecosystems of Chilean Patagonia, as well as for their role in mitigating climate change through the capture of CO2. Thirdly, decarbonizing industrial and hard-to-abate sectors must be one of our main priorities heading into this decade, as established at COP26. In collaboration with Maersk Mc-Kinney Møller Center for Zero Carbon Shipping, we will work on the development of a Chilean Green Corridors network to support the deployment of clean maritime transport. This joint effort will allow us to identify and implement routes in which we can effectively contribute to the operation of zero-emissions vessels in the short and medium term. Chile's renewable abundance, especially in blessed regions such as Magallanes and Antofagasta, with outstanding wind and solar potentials, make its long and privileged coastline a strategic place to foster the supply of clean, zero-emissions maritime fuels. In the fourth place, our country also continues to work hard to advance in the protection of the Nazca and Salas y Gomez mountain ranges in the high seas of the South Pacific, and we hope that other countries will also join in these efforts. Fifthly, I would also like to highlight the importance of protecting the pristine waters surrounding Antarctica, which contain an incredible and fragile biodiversity that require a multilateral effort for their conservation. In this regard, we have jointly proposed with Argentina the creation of an MPA in the waters surrounding the Antarctic Peninsula, which covers 670,000 square kilometers as part of a collective effort to create a representative system of MPAs in the Southern Ocean. In addition, our recent incorporation as one of the 21 dialogue partners of the Pacific Islands Forum is a source of great satisfaction for Chile, as it represents a new opportunity for collaboration with the Pacific Islands, especially regarding climate change and ocean preservation, and establishes an important milestone for Chile's foreign policy towards the region. Chile is committed to the Our Ocean Conference, which we hosted in 2015. We value this forum as an important international cross-sectoral effort to advance the work of states, the private sector, science and civil society in order to protect the sea and ensure its sustainable use, focusing on ensuring the health of the ocean for future generations. Thank you very much.
That's fantastic. I will say that if people think Antarctica is not top of mind, we received while we were here a petition signed by 1.5 million people calling for greater marine protection in the Antarctic. So we'll be working at that too. And I just want to say, look at this. At the very end of the conference, we're still racking up new commitments. That's incredible. So now I have the privilege to introduce someone whose love for the ocean has defined his long and illustrious career as a United States Senator, as the Secretary of State, and now as the Special Presidential Envoy for Climate. John Kerry has had a lifelong connection to the sea, and he has channeled that connection into action. In 2014, as Secretary of State, he launched the inaugural Our Ocean Conference. And look at us. 8 years later, the Our Ocean Conference has generated more than 1,400 commitments valued at more than $90 billion. That's before today. Over the years, leaders have protected more than 5 million square miles of ocean. That's an area larger than the United States and Palau combined. So please give me a huge, big ocean welcome for our co-host for the Our Ocean Conference and one of the most important figures in ocean conservation and one of my own personal heroes, Special Envoy John Kerry.
You have done a brilliant job. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, I'm amazed to see as many hard asses sitting around as you are. We need a new T-shirt with the appropriate moniker on it. My apologies to the Marshall Islands. They gave me a beautiful, what is the equivalent of a tie, but it interfered with the mic, so they made me take it off ahead of time. So please, Marshall Islands, do not blame me. Will you join me, please, sirs? I think that Monica Medina's done an outstanding job of keeping the day running, getting us here on time, and we really ought to recognize her contribution to this, and also as Assistant Secretary of State. She's done a great, great job. Thank you, Monica. So we have reached the point, believe it or not, that we are about to call to a close. President Phipps will come out and Wipps, excuse me, we will, it is late. We will be calling this particular session to close, but announcing, obviously, the transfer of the baton and moving on to the next. But I think, I hope everybody feels, as I do, that, and I sat here as much as I could with the intervening meetings that we have to listen to the commitments that have been made, and they're really quite extraordinary. And we'll say something about that together, President Wipps and I, in a little while. But listening to those commitments being laid out one after the other, seriatim, you really, at least I reacted to that in awe of the community, the sense of people coming together at a time when governance in some parts of the world is obviously very challenged. Here, in these 2 days, it has been working brilliantly. And it's been working without coercion, with a sense of community and spirit of cooperation that stands out in my mind against the times and where we find ourselves. I wish the whole world could have tuned in and listened and taken part in this. But this is a building process. And I want to thank President Wipps for his great commitment to this. He was tenacious. There were tough delays that he had to swallow at the time because the health situation was such that we just couldn't do it in good conscience. And even when we thought we were going to have it in February, all of a sudden Omicron appeared, and it appeared to be moving rapidly enough that it would have clearly jeopardized what we were trying to do. So once again, there was a postponement. And it paid off, folks, because we've been able to do this safely, people being tested, being responsible, coming together with vaccinations and a recognition of the responsibility each of us to each other. And I thank him for that. I thank Palauans for having endured these delays. And I thank every one of you for the remarkable way in which people have come together to make this successful. I want to thank the logistics teams on both sides. I just learned, I was backstage looking at this screen, which are individual blocks, and there's about 430 different squares that make up this amazing screen. And the folks who've done the technical pieces, I've been to plenty of these where something fails, where they turn up the air conditioning just as you're beginning to talk. I'm joking. On the U.S. side, I want to thank our policy team and all those who contributed to it. And I want to thank the members of a congressional delegation who came here today, having been to several islands, and they took part in this. I want to thank our sponsors, Bloomberg Philanthropies, National Geographic, Oceans 5, and Time. And our goal this week was to shine a spotlight on what is happening to our ocean and to make real commitments about real actions and not just words. Every one of us came here understanding that the status quo is not enough. We have to change where we're heading. The commitments that have been made here tackle some of the greatest threats to our ocean that we could have ever imagined. And they address, in a way that I think was imperative, they address this moment with clarity. Actions from Denmark, the United States, the Marshall Islands, for example, who more than doubled the signatories to the Declaration on Zero Emission Shipping by 2050. Actions and commitments to form new plans to develop zero-emission shipping routes in Europe, Latin America, and Asia. Actions from many nations to commit new serious resources to the fight against IUU, with nearly $250 million pledged via policy, governance, on-the-water assets, technical assistance, innovative forms of monitoring, and traceability. And we are pleased that in our country we're able to bring together 21 agencies, all of whom are represented here, with an integrated government-wide response to IUU fishing globally, and all of this under the Maritime Security and Fisheries Enforcement Act. There were actions announced from the United Kingdom, who increased their target for offshore deployment to deliver 50 gigawatts by 2030 of wind power, with an ambition for 5 gigawatts from floating offshore wind. There's more than 11 gigawatts of offshore wind already producing electricity in Great Britain, enough to power nearly 10 million homes and growing. We have commitments set forth for support that support the development of an upgraded fishery and aquaculture value chain, with the European Union and the United Kingdom both committing more than $130 million each to domestic improvements, while the UN Food and Agriculture Organization alone is putting $53 million to fund work with the small island developing states. The list goes on, my friends. Australia announcing $700 million to protect the Great Barrier Reef, the Green Climate Fund, an anchor commitment of $125 million to be implemented by Pegasus Capital Advisors in order to fight coral reef degradation. The Republic of Korea announced $100 million per year for the next years to address the scourge of plastic pollution. We were able to announce more than $160 million to support coastal resilience through the National Coastal Resilience Fund. In fact, altogether, I'm pleased to say that we were able to announce more than 100 individual commitments worth more than $2.6 billion, including contributions from 13 departments and agencies. That matches the promise of President Biden, who said he would make sure this was an all-of-government effort. The message from this week, my friends, is clear. You all recognize the stakes. You recognize that we're starting now, finally, perhaps, to act with the urgency that the moment demands, even as we understand that we have to accelerate even more. Let me just end by saying this to you as I bring out President Wipps. We still do, according to the IPCC in its latest report, as draconian and as challenging as we have seen the issue framed by the IPCC, as much as that is true, they also made it clear to us we still have time to avoid the worst consequences of the climate crisis. It's really up to us. I mentioned yesterday about President Kennedy's admonition to us that problems, most of them that we face, other than the natural disasters, are mostly human-induced, human-created. And they are subject to human resolution, human solutions. I had a day in California, 2 days actually, about a month and a half, 2 months ago. Mark Benioff, who's here, helped arrange a day at Salesforce, and before that I went to Google X, and I went to the accelerator, the particulate accelerator, where they bombard and work on fusion and other challenges. I saw new technologies in development, and I spent an entire day, thanks to Mark, where he brought about 15, 20 new entrepreneurs, people who are putting enormous efforts, major allocation of venture capital that is going into the possibility of these new technologies. So yes, you can see this as a glass perhaps even more than half empty. You can also see it as a glass that is half full and growing. I think remarkably exciting things are happening. I saw a battery that gets 100 hours of storage. 100 hours. Not the 4 hours we've been dealing with trying to balance energy today. I saw new methods of dealing with lithium that could change the entire supply chain of how we get it and how we find it and how much there will be and where it will be. I saw advances in green technology, in green hydrogen, in storage, in direct air carbon capture and utilization of that carbon for different products. I'll tell you something, folks. I came away from there recognizing that there is a whole new generation of ecopreneurs, as Mark likes to call them, ecopreneurs, who are now allocating some $1 trillion almost of venture capital that is chasing the solutions to these challenges. So when I left being Secretary of State, I said then, I do not believe any government is going to solve this problem, certainly not by itself. No government in the world has enough money to do what we need to do to put the trillions on the table to move this, but the marketplace does. The private sector can. And I see people who really want to do that. And I see the promise of technologies that I believe will break through and be brought to scale over the course of these next years. Now, does that mean we can just rest on our laurels and pretend that, oh boy, that's the way it's going to be solved? No. The IEA has made it clear, the IPC has made it clear, and I'll try to make it clear here today that we must deploy more rapidly the technologies that we have, because those technologies alone can help us meet the challenge of 2020 to 2030. And that's the key to being able to meet the challenge of net zero by 2050. So we have great progress that has been laid out here today. I want to invite President Wipps to come out here, if he would please, to join me as we take a look at exactly where we are. So, my friends, thank you so much for your incredible participation in this and for helping us to get where we are. Mr. President, thank you so much for your leadership.
Well, thank you, Assistant, I'm
your assistant.
Special Envoy Kerry. You know, he kept on calling me Phipps, and I said, you know, that's a famous singer and pastor. So I think we just get our tongues twisted a lot. So
I do.
Yes, my apologies. But, you know, it has been a great opportunity to work with you, and thank you so much for the support and the commitment by the United States government to help us through this process and to be here today. I mean, it's just listening to you and the commitments that everybody has made, beginning with them coming to Palau. You know, that just shows how we're giving our children hope. And I think that's what's most important, is we need to give our children hope. So with that, let's talk about what has been accomplished. If we can reveal the amazing commitments for this Our Oceans Conference. So how well did we do? 410 commitments.
16.35 billion of value in the commitments, some in cash, some in what they will accomplish. It's extraordinary. Yep. So I think, friends, those numbers aren't just numbers, because we've seen also, and the number of people commented as they made their new commitments, the degree to which they're already ahead of schedule or meeting the commitments they have made previously. And one of the things that I know will happen in the course of next year's Panama presentation will be sort of an accounting, if you will, of the commitments and the measurement of where we are. I think at this point, since 2014, those are the total commitments that have been made at the Our Ocean Conference, and the value of those is really well beyond the number. But that's all of you. Thank you to every minister here, everybody who has worked with their governments to bring these commitments here. And with that, let me leave the stage and let the President of Palau, President Wipps, make his full closing comments. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
As this 7th Our Ocean Conference comes to a close, it is with immense pride and satisfaction that I declare that the global community has made great inroads to reverse the cycle of decline that humanity has wreaked on the ocean. With 80 countries, 250 non-state actors attending this conference, it was a truly global cooperation to address the state of our ocean today. Indeed, the 7th Our Ocean Conference involved all relevant stakeholders, bringing together governments, intergovernmental organizations, financial institutions, non-governmental organizations, civil society, academia, the private sector, charities, and other actors to the roundtable. And for the first time, it underscored that while science-based action is essential, the immense value of traditional knowledge and practices of indigenous peoples is a crucial supplement to science that cannot be ignored. I would be remiss not to acknowledge the contributions provided by the participating youth representatives. In bearing witness to their passion and intelligent engagement, I know the ocean will be in good hands because of their advocacy. The commitments made by those in attendance will push the aggregate sum, including those endeavored from the 6 previous Our Oceans Conference, over the $100 billion mark. What this tells us is that the world has come to grips with the reality that immediate and proactive action is critical. If we are to save the human race and our ecosystems, this conference has been about taking action and finding innovative solutions that address our present reality. The shirt that I'm wearing, which was made by Shinkong Textiles, is just one such transformative solution. It was produced by 8 PET bottles that originated from Palau, truly turning something that of no value into something of value. But that's what we need. We need transformation. I'm a numbers person, so bear with me. These impressive figures may shock you. This shirt reduces 40 to 85% of the typical energy consumption required, 54.6% of the carbon emissions, and reduces 21.6 liters of water waste. I also want to highlight 2 other commitments that Palau is making here today. First, Palau commits to join the ORRAA. We are joining the Ocean Risk and Resilience Action Alliance as a first full SIDS member. We also look forward to channeling investment into building resilient coastal communities here and worldwide. Driving investment into coastal and ocean resilience is critical to our communities as we depend on a healthy marine environment and a stable climate. Second, we will support the Declaration on Zero Emission Shipping by 2050 and pledge to work together to strengthen global efforts to achieve zero emissions for the international shipping by 2050 at the IMO. In addition, Palau will support the Clydebank Declaration, pledging to work together to establish zero-emission maritime routes, known as the Green Corridors. Too often, we overlook the impact of shipping emissions, which are significant and rising. Just look outside the port of LA and they have 120 ships lined up. Island nations rely on international shipping for food, energy, and jobs. But a transition to zero emission fuels and technology can help the world reduce and eventually eliminate these emissions, while allowing us to continue to the trade that is vital to our economies. Active multilateral engagement and candid dialogue covered by the 6 thematic areas of the state of the ocean today: climate change, sustainable fisheries, the sustainable blue economy, marine protected areas, maritime security, and marine pollution. I was impressed with the interest the commitment, and the robust dialogue that happened on all these topics during this conference. Honored leaders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great satisfaction to confirm that here in Palau, the global community has reached a major turning point in the way we view the threat to the ocean. And more importantly, through commitments, we have delivered a plan of remedial action to protect the ocean. It is now imperative that a fair and equitable distribution of funding be adopted to implement mechanisms and provide a successful pathway forward. Boy, I think I've had too many speeches during this week. And this is especially true for small island developing states and coastal communities, whose livelihoods, culture, and identity are directly intertwined with the ocean. Palau takes special pride in being the first SIDS to host this international forum in order to highlight the special circumstances of large ocean states. And I want to thank you again for allowing us to host it and making the trip to come here. Ladies and gentlemen, your active participation over the last 2 days through the open dialogues, commitments, and initiatives has delivered the following message to the global community: that governments and the private sector and the world are united in our commitment to protect the life-giving ocean. I commend the governments of Portugal and Kenya for their leadership in co-hosting the 2022 UN Ocean Conference. As the seventh Our Ocean Conference is concluding in Palau, I recognize that our actions must be complementary so that we can gain momentum from one conference to another and build on our moment to effectively promote a sustainable future for our ocean. These conferences champion the ocean as a solution to the climate crisis. Yet, these events cannot be held in silos. I urge the UN Ocean Conference to take a complementary approach to the international climate events. From one event to another, we can pass the baton and build momentum towards transformative, ocean-based solutions to climate change. Now, I'd like to invite the United Nations Special Envoy for the Ocean, Mr. Peter Thompson, to take on the baton. And I'd like to put this note in it for you to carry to Portugal.
Wrap it up real tight.
Yeah, well, you got to make it nice and small, otherwise it's not going to fit, right?
Fantastic.
Oh, wow.
There you go. There you go. Perfect.
I think it's not going to fit.
I'm going to ensure safe delivery of this, Mr. President, to the co-hosts in Portugal at the end of June, Kenya and Portugal, as you mentioned.
You know, we didn't rehearse this beforehand.
And we're going to sail this into the Lisbon Harbor. There we go, innovation. And congratulations on a fantastic conference here in Palau.
Thank you, thank you. And looking forward to Lisbon and being there.
Okay, fantastic.
Brisbane, Lisbon, you know, they're all great places,
Thank
but
you.
looking forward to Lisbon. Finally, we commend ourselves on the success of the just concluded 7th Our Ocean Conference. It would have not been possible without the partnership of the United States government and our many friends. I also extend extreme gratitude to the people of Palau and Team Palau, and also to all our partners who contributed to the success of the 7th Our Ocean Conference. Congratulations, once again, to all of you for a successful 7th Our Ocean Conference. Coming to the stage now are Warang, Jude, Shandi, bearing 3 storyboards. You have to be very strong to carry these things. The US and Palau storyboards are in the shape of a wave, signifying the wave of action. This symbolizes the strength of the transformative work that we've done in the past few days. I'd like to take some time and just explain the stories that you see on the boards for the United States and Palau. They're the same story. It's a famous Maduriptal story of Palau, or the breadfruit tree story. And if you look at it, you'll see a breadfruit tree and you'll see fish. But what's important about this story is it's about a woman who lived by a dock in the village of Ngiptal. And at that dock, she had all these breadfruit, but didn't have any fish. And she would see the men who had gone out to fish and have a catch, and when they returned, ask for some fish to trade with the breadfruit. They would mock her, make fun of her, and say, why aren't you married? Where's your son? Who was out traveling. And she felt bad, nothing she could do about it. But fortunately, her son had powers, magical powers, heard about the plight of his mother. So one night, he sent a storm that broke off the branch of the tree. And out came fish. So now, the problem was solved. She had fish and breadfruit. We should all live happily after that, right? Unfortunately, that's not the case. The men in the village did not think this was a good thing. So what did they do? In the middle of the night, they went out and chopped down the tree. Well, that village, if you're at the capital and you look out to the reef, you'll see it. It's 60 feet underwater. That's what self-interest, jealousy, and pride can cause. And it's an important reminder for us that we need to care for each other. We need to care for the most needed and not deny help or be jealous of somebody else's opportunity. Because we all need to care for each other and work together. The third storyboard, which is in the form of a sail, is about the canoe that will be sailing to Panama. And the story that's engraved on this is a story from the state or the village of Esar. It is one of a bird, and the story goes that people lost in the jungle may follow one of these birds to safety. Or if the canoe overturns at night, the fishermen will be led safely back to shore by these birds. This represents our ongoing journey from Palau to Panama in 2023 to protect our ocean for our people and for our prosperity, and bring our ocean to a place of safety and sustainability. I invite my friends, Special Envoy Kerry, Minister Concepcion, to come out and receive their storyboards.
Beautiful. Gorgeous.
Terrible. I hope you all will take time to visit our Rock Islands, where you'll see the pristine Paradise Palau on display. And please, when you go in shorts and bathing suits. No more of this attire. I trust you will enjoy the rest of your stay in Palau. Take in our incredible environment and be refreshed by the hospitality of the Palauan people. When we first thought about this conference, there were several things that we wanted to put on display. And that was understanding what small islands experience. So I hope we've had that opportunity to share that with you. Safe travels to your respective homes, and see you all in Panama in 2023. Thank you very much. Komal Musulang. Thank you.
¿Ya? Sí. Muy buenas tardes, excelencias, amigos y todos los que están presentes.
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, friends, and all those present here today.
Vivimos una crisis mundial
We're living a crisis at this moment
que necesita que trabajemos de manera sincronizada con todos los actores,
that requires us to work in a synchronized manner with all actors,
como estrategia para alcanzar los objetivos establecidos en esta y las anteriores conferencias.
as a strategy to achieve the objectives established in this and previous conferences.
En este proceso debemos sumar a las comunidades locales,
During this process, we must include local communities,
a los indígenas y a los jóvenes,
indigenous people, and youth,
quienes son parte importante de las soluciones de la problemática ambiental actual.
who are an important part of the solution to current environmental problems.
En cada una de estas conferencias
In each one of these conferences,
debemos establecer compromisos alcanzables y medibles,
we must establish achievable and measurable commitments,
cada vez más ambiciosos,
each more ambitious than the last,
para asegurar la protección y conservación de nuestros océanos.
to ensure the protection and conservation of our ocean.
Los problemas que aumentan esta crisis son comunes en todos nuestros países.
The problems that increase this crisis are common in all our countries.
Los efectos del cambio climático, la pérdida de la biodiversidad, la contaminación y la pesca ilegal, entre otros.
The effects of climate change, loss of biodiversity, pollution, and illegal fishing
Están afectando el equilibrio de los ecosistemas a nivel mundial,
are affecting the balance of our ecosystems worldwide.
por lo que debemos empezar a establecer acciones más allá de nuestros límites políticos.
Therefore, we must begin to establish actions beyond our political limits,
Entendiendo que todos los océanos están interconectados entre sí
understanding that all our oceans are interconnected,
y que la biodiversidad que vive en ellos
and the biodiversity that lives in them
se mueve entre diferentes países e incluso diferentes regiones y continentes.
moves between different countries and even different regions and continents.
Consideramos que para asegurar el éxito de estas conferencias
We believe that to ensure the success of this conference,
es importante que demos seguimiento al porcentaje de alcance de todos los compromisos,
it is important that we monitor the percentage of achievement of all commitments,
año tras año,
year after year,
evaluando su efectividad en la protección de los océanos.
evaluating its effectiveness in protecting the ocean.
Desde nuestro país, Panamá, estamos contribuyendo regionalmente a través de acciones concretas
From Panama, we are contributing regionally through concrete actions,
con la protección del 33% de nuestra superficie terrestre
such as the protection of 33% of our land
y el 30.5% del área marina.
and 30.5% of our marine areas.
Consideramos imperante que las acciones se enfoquen
We consider it imperative that these actions focus on achieving equality
en lograr protección de calidad más allá de protección en cantidad.
quality beyond protection and protection beyond quality.
Esta conferencia reúne a muchísimos especialistas,
This conference brings together various experts,
tomadores de decisiones
decision makers,
y miembros de la sociedad civil
and civil society
para hablar de lo que esperamos ejecutar.
to talk about what we hope to achieve.
Es por eso que es nuestra responsabilidad asegurar que estas acciones pasen de la planificación a la acción efectiva.
That is why it's our responsibility to ensure that these actions go from planning to effective action.
El momento es ahora y los responsables de lograrlo somos todos nosotros.
The time is now, and those in charge to take action are all of us.
Agradezco la oportunidad que nos brinda para que Panamá sea el próximo anfitrión de la conferencia.
I appreciate the opportunity given to Panama to be the next host of the Our Ocean Conference,
Por lo que esperamos reunirnos con todos ustedes en Panamá los días 2 y 3 de marzo del 2023.
and we hope to see you all on March 2nd and 3rd, 2023 in Panama.
Con compromisos efectivos
With effective commitments
y altos porcentajes de ejecución en los compromisos establecidos hasta esta séptima conferencia.
and high percentages of execution of the commitments established up until this conference.
Aprovecho para invitarlos al cóctel de lanzamiento de la conferencia Nuestro Océano 2023 que tenemos al culminar esta sesión en el Salón Min del Hotel Palacia.
And I would like to take this opportunity to invite all those here to the official launch of the Our Ocean Conference Panama 2023 at the Palacia Hotel at 8 o'clock.
Muchas gracias y los esperamos en Panamá.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you in Panama.
Greetings to you all. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate President Wipps, Special Presidential Envoy Kerry, and all the people of Palau for successfully organizing another edition of Our Ocean Conference. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought difficult challenges to overcome for the entire world. Therefore, returning to our previous lifetime is a day-to-day quest. That's why I applaud the organizer of Our Ocean Conference and all its participants who have shown resilience and determination by continuing your efforts towards this important celebration. The Our Oceans conferences, 7 so far, have been beacons through which the world has accomplished more than 1,000 commitments, proving that through dialogue and cooperation, we can make the difference needed to ensure a healthy ocean for future generations. Being the Isthmus of the Americas, the oceans plays a vital role for the people of Panama. Therefore, we are determined to continue our engagement with the rest of the world to lead efforts for its conservation and as a fundamental piece for the well-being of our planet and future generations. From this shore of the Pacific Ocean, we salute you, Palau, and with enthusiasm and responsibility, we receive the baton for the defense of our common marine heritage. We invite all of you to come to Panama between March 2nd and 3rd, 2023, for the 8th edition of our Ocean Conference and continue to propose ambitious and measurable actions. Let the world know that our commitment is strong and long-lasting. By protecting the ocean, we will protect mankind. Thank you.
Life. It all begins here. Home to most of the world's biodiversity, 3/4 of the world's surface, and abundant with resources for humans. However, as we continue to undervalue our world's richest resource, we put in danger our present and our future. The ocean connects us all, and it is our responsibility to take urgent action to restore it. Because this is not just an ocean, this is our ocean. The ocean contains 50 to 80% of all the life found on Earth. It regulates the global climate and is the world's largest store of carbon. 83% of the global carbon cycle is circulated through marine waters. And approximately 3 billion people in the world rely on the ocean for food. Panama invites the world to commit and ensure the preservation of a sustainable ocean.
No more speeches, I promise. Just want to leave you with a few inspiring words. Night has fallen here in Palau. And so I want to leave you with the beautiful words of Mia Kami, who started off this conference bringing us all almost to tears. So I'll just quote a few. There is hope, there is strength, there is power, there is change in you and I. Ladies and gentlemen, as the 7th Our Ocean Conference comes to a close, I'm reminded of the significance of the full moon to the people of Palau, so much so that it is featured on its flag. To the people of Palau, the full moon symbolizes new beginnings. As we conclude the 7th Our Ocean Conference, let's begin to reverse the decline in the health of the oceans for our people and our prosperity. Thank you all so much for your participation. Thank you for your commitments. Safe travels, and hasta Panama. Adios.